Inclusivity in culture, nationality, religion, and beliefs is one thing that we apply in our education system. Hence the respect and acceptance that we have for every individual, may it be inside or outside the classroom. Hey Tigers, and we are back with another episode of Culture Shock. I am Isaiah Rodriguez, your host for today. On this episode, we will be discussing the teaching experiences of our foreign professors here in the Philippines. To catch different encounters, we invited not one, not two, but three professors coming from the College of Science, Commerce, and the Faculty of Arts and Letters. I guess today's gonna be another exciting episode for us to learn a lot of new information as we get to know more from our guests. So don't go away, Tigers, because we will be right back on Culture Shock. And we're back on the show that transcends boundaries and embraces differences. This is Culture Shock. You're still here with me, Isaiah. We are now here with our guest for today. Let us all welcome Professor Marco Antonio Joven Romero from the Faculty of Arts and Letters, Professor Benjamin Rias from the College of Commerce and Business Administration, and last but not the least, Professor Bernhard Egwolf from the College of Science. Welcome, sirs. A very good day, professors. And welcome to Culture Shock. So, first of all, may we know how long have you been in the Philippines and when did you start teaching here in the country? Let's start with you, Professor Romero.
I came here in 2017, so this is my third year. I've just finished my PhD in Spain and I applied for that position here in a kind of agreement between the Spanish government and the university. And honestly, this has been probably the 3 best years of my life, so I'm very happy to be here.
How about you, Professor Rias?
Yeah, I came here way back in 1992, and that is 27 years back.
How about you, Professor Egwolf?
I arrived here 2011 during the quadricentennial celebration, basically. This was the day, this was the time when my daughter was born. Okay, I'm married to a Filipina, and that's the reason why I moved here.
Well, that's a very sweet thing to do, actually. For our second question, we've seen that all of you came from different countries. So what made you decide to stay here in the Philippines, other from the reasons that you've stated previously? Let's start with you, sir.
Well, I previously have been in France, also working for a year, and I wanted to try something different. I just was in a moment of my life in which I wanted to experience something completely different. Asia and Southeast Asia was really appealing, and finally the Philippines with Manila was a good option according to this kind of position that appeared. So a bit of lucky, a bit of the destiny, they drive me here.
So it's more of a self-discovery for you, sir.
Yeah, a lot. That's I mean, this is a very good opportunity for me, professionally speaking, but also, and more important, personally speaking.
No, that's true. I mean, it is nice to travel and see other countries and experience their cultures, right?
Yeah, that's amazing, especially here in the Philippines, in which I am learning every day more and more and better things.
Okay. How about you, Professor Rias? What made you stay here in the Philippines?
The same thing like Dr. Egwolf, and I can say that UST, what UST has given me is the best gift in my life, and that's my wife. Because I met her here, and after getting married, she and I decided that it's better for us to stay here.
Other than that, what made the Philippines so appealing for you and your wife to stay? Why did you not think of going back home to your country of origin?
Okay, first of all, I'm Catholic,
Okay.
so I'm coming from a Muslim country.
Understand.
So I feel more comfortable. And the other thing is, before I got married, I studied here, and I was able to understand Filipino culture more. The way people treat one another, very hospitable, very polite, humble. So I thought that it's good to stay here for life.
Well, that's true. We the Filipinos are a very hospitable kind of people, and we don't want to let our foreign friends feel that they're out of their home as much as possible. When we have visitors here, for example, when we go home and then we have visitors, we often make them as if we are at family with them. So it's a very trait that Filipinos grew up with. Last but not the least, Professor Eggwolf, what made you stay here in the Philippines other than, marrying your meant to be?
Yes. So we also had to make the decision where to live. As I said, we met in the United States when I was a postdoc, and she was there visiting for a conference. And then after my postdoc, I moved back to Germany. And at the time, we already were in contact with each other. And finally, I decided to go to the Philippines also because of her profession. She's a medical doctor.
Wow.
And it's not so easy to practice as a medical doctor in a different country. You have to take the boards and all these things.
Yeah.
And I'm
I
a
understand.
scientist, I'm a physicist. It's easier for me to work anywhere. There's no restriction. So I applied here at USD and was accepted right away. So it was simply easier for me to move here than for my wife to go through all these processes needed to practice in a foreign country.
Okay. For my next question, was it difficult when you made new adjustments in your first few weeks here in the country? Let's start with you, sir.
Not really the first weeks because I was impressed about everything and I wanted to discover and I felt energetic. But it is true that after a few months here, not the country, not the people, but maybe the city, Manila, sometimes it's difficult about the traffic,
Oh my
the
gosh,
weather.
yeah.
And
That's
you need,
true.
you need to take shortcuts. You need to handle the traffic, to know when you should move, when you should stop. But once you can take a few tips and you can handle and you can schedule your daily life in a specific way, or yes, you can handle your schedules, then it's not so difficult. So I mean, the first weeks were very easy and amazing at the same time. It was after a few months a little crisis, but after that everything goes smoothly.
Yes, smooth, yes. Yeah, okay. How about you, Professor Diaz?
Yeah, I really face some difficulties, especially when it comes to food. It's different. Language barrier, that's another question, especially when you're using public transportation.
Yes, that's
And
true.
sometimes it's written on the buses, Ibabaw and like that. So I never knew where it is going, under the bridge or above the bridge,
Until later on.
until later on. But anyway, it was a good experience because in the start it is also like an adventure. You're exploring, so you won't feel it if you're traveling an extra mile. It's normal.
That's true. How about you, Professor Eggwolf?
Yeah, beginning, the traffic was one thing, but I like the food, I like the people, so everything is very accommodating here. So, and the Germans like traveling and like to go around the world, so this was a very positive experience to see something completely new, a tropical country, and the Germans like it warm because our country is cold. So the Germans always like warm countries. Just when I go into a classroom, unfortunately, it's cold because of the aircon.
Okay,
So this is the only thing I don't like in the Philippines.
it's very hot.
That when I teach or when I go into a room with aircon, I start freezing,
Okay.
and then I would like to go out right away.
Okay, for my fourth question. Having you here as our Thomasian professors, what pushed you to pursue teaching here in the university? Sorry, sir. Let's start with you.
Yeah, well, more or less, I wanted to try something different and different society and different kind of educational system at the same time. I experienced the French one, the Spanish one. I wanted to experience something completely different and to learn many things, a lot of things I couldn't have learned in another way or in another educational system. I mean, the solidarity between the students, the social atmosphere, that's amazing, and honestly, you cannot find it easily in other places.
Okay, how about you, Sir Diaz?
Yeah, there are a lot of factors which really pushed me, and it is not on my side, because on the other side is university. University has to also accept you or accommodate you, right?
That's
So
true.
it's a two-way thing. What really pushed me is actually the stories which used to come from my wife, because she was a graduate of industrial engineering, and then after that she was also teaching in College of Science, Department of Maths and Physics. So listening to her stories, that to join, it's a Catholic school, and then sometimes I used to come here to fetch her
Okay.
after her classes. So I was so curious that there is a prayer, 3 o'clock prayer, 6 o'clock prayer, and I was here and everybody's standing up. So it's a different kind
Of culture.
culture, and you're really impressed. Students, very polite, humble. Whenever I used to see how they are treating my wife, how they are addressing to her in a very respectable way, I said, come on, this is cool. Why not I should give it a try? And besides it, above all, the reputation of UST.
That is true, sir.
And not only in Philippines, but worldwide.
Worldwide. Except,
Of course, that's an opportunity for me.
last but not the least, sir, Egg Wolf.
Yeah,
How
I
about you?
started with different things. So when I came here to the Philippines, I was looking around. I was working for half a year in the Asian Development Bank as a consultant, and then for one semester I was teaching at the College of Medicine in St. Luke's in Quezon City. And then I was applying here, initially as a part-time lecturer, and then I liked it here, so I got more teaching load. At the very beginning, I got already for a lecture, I got overload actually, and within 1.5 years, I was then full-time, and then finally became a
Professor.
tenured faculty member.
Okay, so hearing all those stories, thank you very much for sharing those. I really appreciated that you shared your knowledge with me. It was a very eye-opening experience. But as how interesting this is happening, I'm afraid we have to cut this short. But when we come back in a little bit, we'll be hearing more stories from our guest teaching career and experiences here in the university. So stay tuned, only here on Culture Shock. Good afternoon, Thomasians. Welcome back to Culture Shock. We are still here with our guests, Professor Antonio, Professor Riaz, and Professor Eggwolf. And as I mentioned before, we will be hearing more from them. So earlier, sir, we stopped at your experiences here in the university. So let's talk about your teaching experiences here in UST. How is it like living and teaching here in this university? For you, Professor Romero.
I mean, it's a wonderful experience. It is true that you need to change a bit the schedule, the schema you have before. Here I find very active and dynamic students. So they love theaters, they love active speech activities. And on the other hand, other kind of activities are harder. So you need to adapt, you need to fix, and you need to take the good points about the dynamics, the activities. In the case of the Spanish language, obviously, the contemporary music, Latin music, is a big goal. It's a great asset for the teaching activity and also for learning. Then you can see also that people here and students here are more sociable. They form a great community, while in other places they are more individualistic. So you can also make better group activities. I mean, it has a lot of advantages. At the very beginning, you are not used to taking advantage of those aspects, but after a few months, you easily get them, and you do your best, and you try your students to do their best too.
That's true. How about you, Professor Riaz?
Teaching here, I think that at the back of everything is for teaching especially, is to understand the psychology. On the other side, the psychology of the students, from where they are coming, what is their mindset. Because if there is a gap, age gap, so you might have a different mindset. So in order for you to get tuned, you have to understand your students, not only in class, but outside class also, whenever they want to talk to you, they want to get your advice. So I can vouch for that. You can ask any of my students. I tell them that I'm available for them 24/7. Unless and until I'm teaching in another class.
Okay.
Only that time I'm not available.
Well, it seems like you have a very close personal relationship with your students, as if almost you are a father figure.
Actually, you're right. But the same other term for father is my students call me Daddy Bench. So I feel proud with that, and I try to make sure that they should not take advantage of that. But whenever they need my assistance, help, I'm always available to them. And because of that relaxation, the students have the courage to speak up that in what way they can learn better.
They tend to be more open.
More open, not depending on the professor that whatever you are teaching, the way you are teaching, right, it is the right way. Maybe the students are not getting the hang of it, what you are trying to relate. So it's a two-way communication. I always encourage my students that please go for interaction, otherwise it's boring if it's one-sided.
That's true.
So they always go for it, and I appreciate that.
How about you, Professor Egwolf?
Yeah, the system here is very different from the German system. First, we don't have a tradition of private universities. Most universities are public, and the teaching is in big lecture halls. There's no direct relationship between the professor and the students because there are several hundred students in one lecture hall. Here, you have classroom teaching. That's very different. So you know your students, the students know you, you can interact. That's actually quite good. Another difference is when I started here, I was surprised that the students are so young. In Germany, the students, when they start, they are 19, 20. Here, the students, when I started, were 16. And that's a big difference. So to teach minors, basically, instead of adults. And, but I like the students. They are good. They work hard. And yeah, I'm very happy with the teaching here.
I'm glad to know that all of you have very good experiences here in the Philippines. For my next question, how does your teaching strategy here in the Philippines differ from the ones you've experienced in your former schools in other countries? Let's start with you, sir.
Yeah, apart from the dynamic, people love acting, love just using the knowledge they are getting. Apart from that, there is also a difference between the number of students per class, which sometimes is difficult to handle, especially when you try to teach a language. But at the same time, that's compensated with a good predisposition and behavior of the students. So you can split the class in different groups, and at the same time, all of them are going to work. That's nice. Also, the evaluation system, it differs about the numbers. And I mean, I always try to take it and to do it in terms of percentages everywhere. But then you need to translate it into the class record with different aspects, and you need it to be very specific. At the very beginning, it's a bit difficult to understand the system, but after 1-2 terms, you can do it perfectly. I must say that the online platforms are wonderful. They work very well. And I mean, everywhere, but I would say here in the Philippines even a bit more, students and everybody are very used to new technologies and social networks. I try to take advantage of that. I mean, my social networks are open, the students can see that, they can see some of the contents in Spanish language, some extra material if they're interested. Like recently, there was an interview with Kobe Bryant in Spanish that was very trendy for the students. Obviously, I always reply the emails, but not only the emails. Many people, they ask me questions by Facebook Messenger. It's okay, it's good. I mean, I don't mind the mean to communicate, but I perceive that this great use and fantastic use of the new technologies is also an advantage I am trying to use here. Yeah, there is a good predisposition. I mean, everywhere in the world nowadays, but here in the Philippines, I would say even more.
Okay. How about you, Professor Diaz?
As far as my country is concerned, we have annual system, meaning to say no semesters during the time when I was studying in school, college. So that was entirely different. Like you have to study for 1 year and then you have to take the exams. Then after 2 years, you have to take the board exam. So we were used to of the first board exam, or we were used to of taking the board exam since we were in high school. The final exam of the high school was the board exam. Then after 2 years in college, I took up Faculty of Science, pre-engineering. So after 2 years, another board exam. Then BS level, another board exam. But here, when I came here, I was surprised that, hey, this is a semester system, so how it looks like, right? Semester or trimester system in the Philippines, right? This is good. It's not like a burden, too much burden. The other problem you can say was that when you're taking the board exam and you flank one subject, you cannot enroll next year level. So you're in the college, you're in second year, you took the board exam, you flanked one subject, you're not allowed to take admission in third year. You have to clear that subject, and that subject exam will be offered after 6 months, and the result will be out after 2 months. So ultimately, you are 1 year behind from your same classmates. But here it's different. It's so nice that even somehow, if the student can't make it with one subject, still he will be given a chance to continue, but at the same time, clear the other subject, enroll it, right?
Yes.
So this was quite astonishing for me. Then the other thing which was worth mentioning here is that during my times way back in my country, there was no such thing as consultation hours. But here, when I found out that the professor have to mention the consultation hours and the students can go and consult with the professor, that's cool. That's perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, if, we are kind of short on time, but to further learn more about the cross-cultural interactions between the professor and the students who have different cultures and nationalities, we actually interviewed some of your students. Let's watch this.
A very good day to you, Tigers. Sherwin Hato here, your segment host for today. Now that we've heard the different experiences of our guest professors for today, come and join me as we get the insights of some students who've had foreigner profs in UST. I am here with Julia. Hi, Julia.
Hi.
Yeah, so how's it like to have a prof who has a different culture from yours?
For me, I find it very interesting because I'm the type of person who really wants to go out and talk to other people. What more with the people who has different culture than me?
At first, it's actually intimidating to have a prof who's different, whose nationality is different. Kasi, I mean, biglang pagpasok sa classroom, he's so tall, Sir Ego, tall, and then white. I mean, so ayun, parang...
He's German.
Yeah, he's German. So, parang paano niya kami handle? So, yun.
Is it different for your block to interact with a foreign prof?
Me as a student in one block, just a common reason that we have to adjust for it.
It was fun after a while because we started to understand how he taught us.
Yeah. And how about their teaching strategies? Do their teaching methods differ when they're foreign?
Yeah, I think it's evident that it's different, but then we need to adjust and trust that prof that whatever ways he or she has, we need to follow it because it's for our best.
Since there are English sometimes, and we get to learn about different languages, so we have to adjust for that.
I can't say that there's much difference. Parang ganun din naman. Yeah, for me, So I don't know for others, but for me, it's that way.
But what's the what's the best thing about having him as a professor?
Siguro, he's
it's weird kasi in a way, he doesn't really understand most of what we're saying, but he's more understanding in the sense na if we don't get whatever he's teaching, he's more patient and he goes over the topic more thoroughly. Kung sa teaching style kasi wala naman masyadong difference, for me, the best thing about it lang is we are able to see parang a part of their culture during our class. Kasi minsan pag nagdi-discuss si Sir Ego sa amin, minsan nasi-share niya yung paano yung government sa Germany, ganito daw, ganyan. So, at parang math class kasi yun. So, parang medyo nagkaroon na rin kami ng history class with him about Germany. So, I think it's a good thing din kasi at least, di ba, we're able to know something about their culture.
You enjoy it naman.
Yeah, some parts of it, yeah.
Like what I have mentioned earlier, that we have to discover things and we learn something from it.
Best thing of having a foreign prof is we get to learn new things with them. So yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Julia.
Thank you.
So now we've heard it from our Tigers who've had foreign professors. And now that we've heard their perspectives, I think we can truly say that respect and inclusivity exist despite the cultural differences inside and outside of our four-walled classrooms. Once again, this has been Sherwin Haro, your segment host for today. Back to you, Isaiah.
And those are the insights of some of the Mashin students with their professors. And that ends our episode for today. Thank you very much, dear professors, Sir Romero,
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir Riaz, and Sir Egbulf, for joining and lending us your time with us here on Culture Shock. We hope this episode was not only entertaining to you, Tigers, but may it also serve as added knowledge for you as well. Once again, I'm Isaiah Rodriguez, and this has been the show that transcends boundaries and embraces differences. Thank you so much for tuning in, only here on Culture Shock.